Hello and welcome to the 45 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball podcast. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. Tonight's episode, which is live, spooky, brought to us by our good friends at S2 Cognition. S2 Cognition delivers a revolutionary approach to helping athletes understand how in-game decisions impact their performance from youth levels all the way to the pros. Thanks to S2 Cognition, it has been a blast being partnered with these guys all year. Per usual, I am joined by the great Aaron Zebediah Fit, the gentleman wearing the college baseball is rad hat, Kendall J. Rogers.
Big Donkey. Thank you, Big Donkey.
Pride of cut and shoot. Yeah. J. Rowe and I ordered our hats today. Very excited. We got 2 hats coming. You guys know how we got it to 2 hats? It was going to be 1 hat. We spent 15 minutes deciding 1 hat. You know why it's 2 hats?
Did he come out with a bucket hat edition?
No.
Then why?
Think about who makes decisions in my house mostly. J.
Rowe.
So we're on the computer, we're placing the order, and she says, "Hey, is it free shipping?" I'm like, "Unfortunately, no." She says, "Well, what if we ordered a second hat?" I'm like, "Let's give it a shot. Second hat, free shipping. Hey yo, let's go."
Do it.
Do it,
Shock.
Yeah, that was great.
Speaking of, Aaron gets
That
to spend a full week with Steven Shock this week. Have you prepared yourself mentally for that?
Well, I mean, Shock, of course, being Shock, he texts me at like 4 o'clock this afternoon, like, "Hey, I don't have a credential. Can you help me? You help me out with that?" So we're working on that right now. We hope we can get him in the doors.
Yeah, I was talking to Brian O'Connor last night. I made a comment. He made a joking comment about me being their ops guy, and I said, "Well, how about Steven Shock? He could be your ops guy." He said, "Well, one thing's for sure, Steven Shock would keep me very young."
Oh,
so,
I listen.
I listen to like co-jobs.
I like that. I listened to part of the Shock Factor podcast today, out doing errands after I listened to the Nerdcast, which, by the way, was awesome. You guys even crushed it without the Nerdmaster General, who went dark on you for a second. Stephen Shock admitted on the Shock Factor podcast that his trip to Florida earlier this year for the Alabama series, he booked his hotel on the flight down to Gainesville, which is like that is a level of brazenness that I don't possess.
A lot of procrastination. I'm kind of shocked he found a hotel room in Gainesville on that short of notice.
I don't think that's procrastination. I think that's actually past procrastinating. Like procrastinating's the night before. That's like
that is living life dangerously. I wonder what I would like to hear Fran's take on this.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, does he operate his marriage traveling like this?
They've only been married a few months. Fran's got time to clean that up, and she will.
Clean it up, Fran.
That's your home. In the words of Runes, that's your homework for the next week, Fran.
Yeah, that's right.
His work on Shock's timeliness.
Yeah. Speaking of wives, that's J. Rowe on the NutriBullet at the 145 mark. I'm not kidding. I told her we were going into podcast, and she said, "Well, I'm getting ready to NutriBullet, so sorry, not sorry."
We have J. Rowe in the NutriBullet. We've got Mason out there on the Fortnite, so hopefully we'll keep it down a little bit.
Oh, nice. I like that. Does Mason have any is there smack talking in Fortnite, KR?
Yeah, to the point where I have to calm him down.
So it's verbal because they're mic'd up, right? Like they're
mic'd
like a phone call.
Yeah, it gets verbal. It gets intense. I'm still waiting. By the way, Todd Walker, if you're listening, I've sent your friend request 100 times. You haven't accepted it. So
maybe you should take the hint, Raj. Maybe you should take the hint.
I think he's scared.
Yeah, no question. That's so. I think we do a off-season event for D1Baseball from time to spare in Cut and Shoot, Texas. Todd Walker versus Stone Mason Jar Rogers in Fortnite.
Love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if Todd wants that smoke, as the kids would say.
Yeah, that's right. Well played. Boys, one more piece of inane banter before we get into the topics du jour. I've got the Drover on my mind. I am so fired up for the Drover right now. I was thinking about all my favorite things about the next month of our lives. And the no sleep is not my favorite part, but the first meal at the Drover might be my favorite part.
This is how ubiquitous the Drover has gotten. I was on Sirius today, and Coach Neuheisel asked me what my go-to steak is at the Drover.
No way.
Came out of left field.
Oh, that's awesome. Good
Runes,
on
I think
Coach
what we should do,
Neuheisel.
since Aaron's skipping out on us the first 3 or 4 days of the tournament, I think we should get all of our Drover trips in the first few days.
Ooh.
That way we're already done with the Drover. So when he shows up, hey, sorry, dude, we've already had enough.
You're a bad guy.
That's a bad. Yeah, that's ill intended. I say we just job it into a second trip. Like I think that's the strategy is we play it into a second trip. So
I think you just skip the drover and just do steaks at KP's house and listen to Berkey complain about how they're cooked.
I will say it's a tradition like no other, but I will be glad on opening weekend not to hear Berkey and Aaron argue about Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
There's no argument anymore. That's been put to bed.
Yeah, that's right.
Put to bed.
That's right. Berkey lost. Chris from Louisville, if you will, he lost that argument.
Yeah,
so, all right, boys, that's good. So we're excited about the drover. We'll come back to that topic. Let's get into the topic of college baseball.
Yeah.
So we're taping Monday evening. Actually, we're live Monday evening, and so we're going to be inundated. Like we're going to wake up tomorrow in the middle of conference tournaments. But the regular season championships are a big deal in our sport. Like one of the things I'm most proud of my coaching career is that in 2000 we were champions of the Pac-10. And that was when Stanford was going to 5 straight Omahas. That's when UCLA had Chase Utley. Like it was not easy. And we were co-champions, but I mean, super proud of that. And I think about some of these regular season champions and we just turned the page on them so fast. And so I wanted to, we'll go around the horn and let's just recognize some of them. So like, for instance, Penn and St. Joe's won their leagues. Now Penn won the automatic bid too. And, being a Philly guy, that pumps me up. I know that Fritz Hamburg and those guys, Ryan Wheeler at St. Joe's, worked their butts off. That's a very tough league to win. The A-10 is a big league. 2 teams have gone to super regionals, Davidson and VCU in the last decade. So good on the Hawks, good on the Penn Quakers. I'll start right there. Fitzy, let me go to you. Any regular season champions that jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean, Oral Roberts, guys, partying like it's 1999 in the Mid-Con.
Yes.
Just running roughshod over the Summit League, 23-1. Just utter domination for Oral Roberts, a team that I finished 43 and what are they? They won a lot of games, 43-11. I mean, that's team. It stinks for them that they got to win the automatic bid or they're not getting in because the RPI is still in the 70s. But I think they will. I think they're by far the best team, as you can tell, in the Summit League. And our man Patrick Ebert has been all over him. He's written about him a couple times in the mid-major notebooks. And I look forward to seeing what they could do in a regional if they can get through.
I love it. We'll go around we'll do a couple turns here. Kendall, give me a couple one or two that jump out at you.
Yeah, how about the job that Jeff Duncan, your boy Jeff Duncan, did at Kent State this year? Those guys hadn't won a conference championship in 5 years. They go 40-14. They had a 24-6 record in the Mid-American Conference, and what more impressive way to finish the season than what they did the final weekend against a good Ball State team on the road? 29 runs, 14 runs, 11 runs, just total domination. And again, this is a team with an RPI 51. So as a MAC team, you're not getting as an at-large right now. But I'll tell you what, if they can make a run through that conference tournament, let's say they can get their RPI in that 40 to 44 range, and let's say they lose the championship game, they would actually have a shot to get in. Like the metrics aren't great, but I mean, that would be a very impressive overall record, very impressive aggregate conference record. And keep an eye on Aiden Longwell for Kent State. He's having a fantastic year for them. 409 batting average, 10 home runs, 69 RBIs at a 1.143 OPS. Dunk has done a great job with flashes this year.
And you mentioned, the chance for them to maybe be an at-large team if they don't win the automatic bid.
Yeah.
And remember, Ball State a couple years ago was in a very similar position. They were clearly the team there that we thought they should get in. We argued for them, I think, in our final projection. We had a feeling they wouldn't get in because that league just never gets that kind of. They never get it, that when it push comes to shove, they don't get that extra respect from the committee. But it's kind of like the West Coast Conference. It feels like, I mean, how many times have we seen the West Coast Conference champion be on the bubble and get snubbed? But Ball State should have gotten in my opinion. And Kent State has a very similar profile. And right now with a soft bubble, I would have them well ahead of a lot of teams that, are in our bubble discussion and maybe even
no question
some that we have in the field.
Well, and I would urge the committee too. Like if you look at, what some of the teams in this league, Central Michigan, when they've gotten into the tournament, they fared really well in regionals. Like they've either lost really close games or actually, won, big games in regionals. So, I think the team that wins this league is typically pretty good. And I think it certainly seems to be the case with Kent State this year. So keep an eye on those guys.
Yep. Let me give you guys, I got a couple that are top of mind for me. The other, I'll give you a topic. I won't mention any of these teams like a theme, but there are some teams that have just been winning their league over and over and over again. And I'm not going to mention some of them, and I don't want to give them short shrift, but like Army and Wright State come to mind, where it's just like, God bless them for that level of consistency. Like that is not easy to do. Army just winning the automatic qualifier for the 5th straight year.
Yeah,
And that's
insane.
crazy hard to do.
Insane.
And that's after losing Connolly early
Right?
to Virginia.
Yeah. And so Jeff Forehand is the head coach at Lipscomb. I don't know Jeff at all, and I'm
Mhm.
embarrassed. I don't know much about him. I know that Lipscomb hasn't been Division I the entire time he's been there, but they won the ASUN, which is a very tricky league to win. And we were all on Florida Gulf Coast all year, and it's Chris Sale University, but the Bison out of Nashville won that thing. I think about Morehead State won the Ohio Valley, and SEMO has been the program on everyone's radar the last several years, as it should be. But Mick Aoki, who I think is a wonderful guy, and did his career at Notre Dame didn't go perfectly. The 2015 team was excellent, and then they just couldn't capitalize on that traction. And it was interesting to see Mick, who's he comes from all these academic backgrounds, takes a state school job at Morehead State, and you're thinking, man, that's a weird fit. Can it work? And now they've won the Ohio Valley, and like I sent Mick a text. I was so pumped for him, because I love that when coaches can kind of recreate themselves. And then another one I'll give you guys, Brad Sanfilippo at San Jose State.
Yeah.
That job is not impossible. It's harder than impossible, right? Like it just felt like the worst job in that league. And I don't know, it just seemed like a total graveyard. And they've just slowly built that up. And for them, now they tied for the league title, but for them to win the league title was really, really cool this year. So, Fitzy, any others jump out to you?
Yeah, Alabama State, the Hornets just dominating the SWAC, 26-4. We touched on this in the Nerdcast last night, but 26-4 in conference play. They have a 122 RPI too, which is like really, it's just probably as strong in RPI as I can remember for a SWAC team. It's just usually so hard for those teams to get up there. 39 wins overall. I mean, they've had some good teams. They've had a lot of talent over the years there. With Coach Melendez, Coach Vasquez, kind of picking that up and running with it, and it's just it's a really good, consistent program, and they've built a certainly winning culture and continue to do so. Even with Bethune-Cookman now in that league, and Bethune had a good year and is 20-9, second place, 5.5 games back. I mean, it's just Alabama State's a machine.
Love it, KR.
How about Loyola Marymount and the job that Nathan Schoat's done over there, guys? I mean, when you look at, this is a program, this is their 4th regular season championship in school history. They were picked 5th in the WCC coming into the season. And not only did they win the league, guys, they won that league by 4 games.
Yeah.
They dominated that league. And so I think when you look at LMU, they're one of those teams that, like, I hate to pick favorites in the WCC tournament, but I hope they win it, because they have one of the best pitchers in college baseball, Diego Barrera, on Friday nights. I mean, you look at his numbers, he's just a total command specialist, ERA under 3, which in today's college baseball, an ERA under 3 is pretty incredible. 88 strikeouts, just 10, I think it's 10 walks in the season. Yeah, he has 10 walks and 92 2/3 innings of work. He's just a kind of a funky lefty, 6 foot, 165. Like, that profile for me, guys, is like what college baseball to me is all about. Guys like that, having years like that. And so I would love to see Diego and LMU in the postseason. A great job by Schoat and company.
Love it. I'll wrap us up with a couple. Hey, did you guys know, like, if I read this right online, I don't think Samford had ever won the SoCon before.
Really?
So Casey Dunn had taken them to 3 regionals, but it was by winning the tournament, not by winning the regular season crown. So now I could be wrong about that, but congrats to those guys and Tony David. And I felt like they were a little bit under my radar early in the year. I was very focused on Wofford, but that was a cool thing to see. I want to give a shout out to Coastal Carolina and Gary Gilmore. Like, with everything he and that program have been through, they hadn't won the Sun Belt since 2018. And in arguably the most difficult year ever to win the Sun Belt, they win it, which is really cool. Grand Canyon fits in that category of teams that is just, kind of in an incredible run right now. They come back and win the WAC again. DBU transitions conferences and just, kind of runs away. Not kind of, I guess, runs away with Conference USA. There was one more that I wanted to.
Ruth, can I give you? Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah,
Nichols had not won a conference championship since 1985.
How
How
about
about
that? Huh?
that?
How about that?
And you mentioned, the ERA. I mean, Diego Barrera has, by the way, 2.33 in this day and age in college baseball. Very impressive. How about Jacob Myers at Nichols, 8-1 with a 2.15 ERA. That's despite a high walk rate. He got 53 walks in 62 innings, so that's a weird stat line. And while we're at this particular topic, if I may, another conference champion to highlight. Your Wake Forest Demon Deacons, guys.
Yes.
Rhett Lauder, 12-0,
Who are those
1
guys?
12-0, 1.60 in the ACC in that bandbox of a ballpark, and Josh Hartle, 9-1, 2.01. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just
In that
utterly
ballpark
insane.
is
In that
crazy.
ballpark, it's utterly insane, utterly mind blowing.
Yep, that is crazy. So I love that you brought up Wake though, Fitzy, because like we've talked about them a lot. They've certainly gotten their share of love, but at the same time, this has been a long time coming this season. Like Wake didn't build this season in one off season. They have taken a lot of punches to get here. I think about West Virginia, and I know they had an awful weekend last weekend. It was really their first fart of the season, right? Like West Virginia had been awesome all year. And
Almost did a spit take, Bruins. Thanks a lot.
yeah, fart in church, it's never a good look. But so West Virginia, for them to win, it's got to be the first time they've won the Big 12 in baseball, right? Like there's no way they've won the Big 12 in
That's
baseball
correct.
before. And so
without even checking, I'm sure that's correct.
certain that's the case. So good on them. And I know the fan base was pretty, that was probably pretty jarring last weekend, but they got a chance to reset themselves. And Indiana State, I think about Indiana State in this way. Like for years, they've had this really good program, but you're always like the bridesmaid in the Valley, right? There's the powerhouse Wichita State. And then as soon as they get out, DBU comes in and steals everybody's thunder. And, for Indiana State to have this incredible season, one more I got for you guys. Central Connecticut State. Charlie Hickey might be the best coach in America that we don't talk about enough. He was the head coach at Providence when they dropped baseball. He's been at CCSU for a long time. Go Blue Devils. And I think Charlie Hickey's been to 7 regionals, something insane like that, despite being in the same conference as Bryant forever. That's right? Bryant was in the Northeast, and now Bryant's in America East.
Yeah, it used to be the Bryant Athletic Conference. You might recall from the Nerdcast.
Yeah,
now
right.
it's definitely the Blue Devil Athletic Conference. This is domination here.
Yeah. So, yeah. Any ones I missed there, boys? I think we kind of got them all.
Yeah, Fairfield. Bill Courier and
Yeah.
Fairfield. What they've done this year is pretty impressive. Obviously they were the storyline a couple of years ago. 34-16, 16-5, and then MAC. So they did a great job.
Second A is for awesome.
And yes, 7 regionals for Charlie Hickey in 23 years or something.
Isn't that pretty awesome? I mean,
pretty good.
Not easy. So, I mean, we go up and down the list. Like, you did that. You said this on the last pod, Kendall, and I thought it was astute. Was David Pierce at Texas, right? Like, just for them to even get a share of the league based on everyone they lost. It's cool. It's what? Let's put a bow on it with this, guys. Like, Florida's players were watching the end of I don't know what game when they were at Kentucky.
Vanderbilt, Arkansas.
That's right.
Because they needed Vandy to beat Arkansas to share the championship.
And when that happened, the Florida players lost their minds. And that tells you everything you need to know about how important regular season championships are. So
it's a long season, man. You put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this stuff. And I know people, it's all about Omaha, but the championships are important too. By the way, I'm going to throw one more team in there from a power conference. We talk about teams that dominated the leagues. How about a shout out to Stanford? Winning the Pac-12 by 5 games. That's extremely impressive.
Domination. Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. So, so there you go. So wanted to tip our hats to the regular season champs. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Boys, let's do this. Let's transition to, I just want to set, like, for my own brain and for the listeners, let's talk about conference tournament week. So let's start here. Go ahead, Fitzy.
Runes, I'm sorry. Did you talk about Coastal? I know there's another team that you wanted
did.
to mention.
I did. Yep.
I'd blacked out.
So no, you're good. What I was saying about Coastal was it's their first title. They did win the Sun Belt in 2018, but this Sun Belt is different. And, and I don't know when Gary Gilmore's cancer diagnosis began. It feels like it was right in that time, but it's been a long journey for Coastal and for Coach Gilmore. And so, obviously one of all of our favorite people in the sport. So, yes, good call out and reiteration there, Fitzy. By the way, Fitzy, we do such a great job with big words on this podcast. Did you pronounce it ubiquitous? Is that how so you say like
Yeah.
you, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I always want to use that word because I'm so proud of myself for knowing what it means now. But I feel like I always say ubiquitous. I always want to say it, and it's like the kid going off the high dive on the pool. It's like I want to do it, and then I see how high up it is, and I'm like, let's not use that word.
I feel like Coach Runes plays up the Rube card here. I mean, come on. You went to Malvern Prep, Runes. You know all these big, quote unquote, big words. Give me a break.
Yeah. Well, I was a smarter person back at Malvern Prep. I don't know what's happened over the years. Too much red wine, I suppose. All right, so that's good. Good transition. Ubiquitous. I feel like I just got better there. All right, everyone just got better for that. All right, danger zone review is what I have written on my piece of paper here, or I should say on my tablet. We don't even use paper anymore.
Yeah.
Heyo.
Nice.
Yeah, Coach Rooney. Danger zone review. So if I'm a fan, if I'm a fan of a program on the bubble, here are the 6 teams I'm rooting for, and then 2 other conference tournaments that I've got my eyeballs on. So I am a UConn fan. They got to win the Big East. I am an East Carolina fan. They got to win the American. I am a Campbell fan. They got to win the Big South. I am a DBU fan. They got to win Conference USA. I'm an Indiana State fan. They got to win the Valley tournament. And I'm a Northeastern fan. We really need them to win the Colonial, right? Because UNCW is not in currently, right?
Yeah, they would be in that kind of Kent State category as a team that's kind of like hanging around, lurking. If they won the regular season title, they actually beat out Northeastern for the regular season title of the CAA. And I think if they can make a run maybe to the finals and they don't win it, I could see them getting in. And again, I would have them along with Kent State ahead of some of the bubble teams that we do have in our field this week. But it's certainly a bubble case with a mid 50s RPI, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
The Sun Belt as well.
Yeah. So the 2 conferences I was going to bring up, KR, were the Fun Belt, like you just said. Like you really need the core 3 to win the Fun Belt, right? Like you need Troy, Coastal, or Southern Miss, or else that becomes a 4-bid league, and that's a problem if you're on the bubble. And then the Big Ten, right? You also need the core 3. You need Iowa, Indiana, or Maryland to win that. By the way, there's another conference champ. Maryland back-to-back. Haven't lost a series in the Big Ten since 2021. How about that? Maryland won't lose a Big Ten series until 2024 if they lose a series in 2024. How cool is that?
And it's not like they had a particularly easy conference schedule. I mean, if you look at their conference schedule, they played all the good teams and they just beat them.
Yep. So do you guys feel like that's a pretty solid depiction of the danger zone? Like if I'm glancing around at tournaments and stuff?
Yes, I think that's spot on. I'm trying to see if you missed anybody. I think that's well said.
What if Fullerton? Well, never mind.
I mean, no, it's a good point, Kendall. If Fullerton wins the automatic bid, then Santa Barbara and Irvine, like that goes from 2 to 3. That's a good one, actually.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say the Big West tournament, and I caught myself. So
that'll be in
a tournament.
2052 is when their tournament is scheduled for.
So yeah, you need to root for the Gauchos, basically, for bubble team.
By the way, one more sidelight on here, and then we'll get to the Power 4 tournaments. Because I'm going to do the Big 12 this week. Kendall, you and I will be at Globe Life. One of the things I'm going to do. Say it again.
And Stitchhead.
And Stitch, yes, the great Stitch.
He'll be the drunk guy in the stands.
That's right. Oh, he's the only person. He's the only male in America in the year 2023 who's taking pictures of himself drinking beers on the clock. It is awesome. Like, can you imagine if I did that in my medical sales job? Holy hell!
That's been working for Barstool. Come on.
It's so great. Oh, he is the Dos Equis man of college baseball. Oh gosh, what the hell was I going to say? I have no idea.
Big 12 tournament.
Yes. So if I was the Big 12 SIDs, what I would do is I would take playing 24 league games. I think it's a massive disadvantage. It's Oklahoma's 11-13 feels infinitely worse than A&M's 14-16. Like it feels miles apart, and it's really not that far apart. So maybe I'm just a simpleton, but if I was a Big 12 SID, I would take my league record and I would extrapolate it over 30 games, just to not have it's almost like marketing, right? Like if something costs $401, it feels more expensive than something that costs $398. Am I just sniffing glue over here, or do you think there's something there? Fitzy's smirking at me.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Next year that the league gets reformed, and you get a bunch of
25, I think. I
Yeah,
don't
who
know.
could-
Kendall,
who could
knows?
say?
Who
Truly,
can
Next,
say?
so Texas, I know you have one more year in the league, but BYU, Houston, and
Houston.
Cincinnati join next year,
What about UCF?
and UCF. So so BYU, Cincinnati, UCF are in the league next year.
So they've got a bunch of
Ooh,
teams. So they got
that'd be
13
nice.
this year for 1 year, and then they go down to 11. Is that how that's working?
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Iowa State, by the way. Jeez.
Losers.
You and Colorado killing the drill.
Listen, if there's any Iowa State fans listening right now, I mean, that's a loser athletic program. I said it. If you want to change my mind, get a damn baseball team. Let's go.
Let's go.
By the way,
Losers.
trivia for you: who was the last Iowa State head baseball coach?
That's a great question.
Ruins, you know this. Come on.
Jeff Duncan was on the team because we picked we picked him up as a transfer to Arizona State. Gosh, I have no
This is where
idea.
my original Big 12 roots come into play.
Oh yeah, Ken,
don't
look
know.
at you
Yeah.
showing off. I like it.
I don't know. What do you got?
Lyle Smith.
Yeah, that's
What has become of Lyle Smith?
I have
what
no
happened?
idea. Selling
man.
insurance somewhere.
I'll be googling Lyle Smith.
Maybe he's
Great
working
call.
on the Kurt Reed agency.
We're gonna come back to Kurt Reed. Hold that thought.
No, but on that final team, I want to say they had Alan Bomer, who ended up at Texas. I think they had Spencer Allen,
yeah. He was on that team. I know that.
and they had Aaron Monk.
Right.
They had Aaron Monk, who was like a first or second team All-American. Like they were legit. Like they made a run at the Big 12 tournament that year.
Go Cyclones. Look at that. Oh man, that is awesome. All right, so let's do this, boys. Boy, that was a nice sidelight right there. So let's do the Power Four, the Big Four tournaments, and let's do give me a general theme and then some injuries to watch. And I'll start us off with the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Pac-12 general themes are Arizona State, Oregon, USC are in the field as we sit here today, but they're in the perfect world field. They're in the utopian field, right? Which we know will not exist a week from now.
Indeed. So, and I think USC is clearly at the head of that trio. I just, even though their RPI is borderline, makes me want to lose my mind. They're shout out Madonna. They're their conference record, and they get the 17 conference wins. They're in the best shape, and they played better lately than those other teams have.
Yep. I had Oregon ahead of USC, but I think I would rethink that position. It's more an RPI leaning by me. As far as big injuries to keep your eye on, Stanford's got nothing to play for. Oregon State playing for a host, right?
I mean, I think if Oregon State can win a couple of games in this tournament, I think they start with Arizona State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're in that pod. Yes, that's
so.
correct.
If they win those two games, I mean, I'll say this: I think if they win those two games, they should host.
Yeah,
I would have them in a position where they should be hosting.
Boy, if they beat Arizona State has got a big problem. This is a big week for Arizona State. And I would say the big injury top of mind for me is Jay Stoffel of Oregon. That when he went down, he was so important to their pitching staff, and it is collapsed. By the way, on Oregon State, they're like 27-8 in their last 35 games. Like they are hot as a pistol.
Impressive.
They have 5 players with double-digit home runs. Their offense was a big question mark. I heard you say on a previous podcast, Fitzy, that they really do. Their starting pitching's opener-ish, which I think is well said. But their bullpen is really good. They got a great freshman low slot joker in AJ Hutchinson. So I think those are the themes. It's like Oregon State playing for host, those other teams playing for safety, Arizona State playing for their lives, and Jay Stoffel is the big injury that I'm very curious about.
Yeah. I've got Arizona State circled in this tournament. I just think when you look at their non-conference resume with the series loss to Mississippi State, I think that series sweep going 0-3 against Irvine at home is going to loom extremely large on Selection Monday if they don't make a big statement this week. That's the series I kind of circle as the one that could kind of be the death knell for them if they don't make a run here.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw it this way, but for me, Irvine has to be ahead of USC and Arizona State in the pecking order. They're 5-0 against those two teams.
I'm good with that. Even with their conference standing, I love the fact they went out and played a really challenging non-conference schedule.
Yep.
And they won a majority of those games.
Yeah, I agree.
8-1, I think, against the Pack overall.
That's right.
I believe.
Totally. Yeah, they were 8-0 and then lost that midweek to Arizona. Fitzy, dealer's choice. Pick one of the big three that are left and give us some themes and a theme or themes and an injury or two that jump out.
Yeah, I'll go ACC since that's where I'm going to be this week. Home game models, liking this one for Fitzy, a week in his
Love
own
it.
bed.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake here. I mean, obviously, I think the big storyline for me is probably the hosts. Can we sort out this Boston College, Duke, Miami, kind of group here? Right now, it feels like, well, I guess Miami's probably more like in the safe group now. You've got Wake Forest as a host, Virginia, Clemson, and Miami, and then I feel like you've got Duke and BC probably competing for one more for the ACC. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably whichever one of those teams fares better this week probably would get one. And there's no guarantee they're going to get 5 hosts, but I think they probably will. So that's a major theme. Certainly, you've got NC State fighting for their postseason lives. I mean, it's an interesting profile now. 13 wins in the ACC typically gets you on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I mean, the RPI factors in, and you got a 26 RPI, so they're fine there. And then it's, how do we do in the conference tournament? They need to win probably 2 games, I think. And then I think they probably get in. But maybe 1-1 in pool play, maybe that gets them in. It's an interesting case. It's a team that I think will make a run. I think I still believe in them. I have just not been able to quit those guys this year, even though they've been a significant letdown. And so I expect them to make some noise. And then injury, top of mind here for me, Runes. We talked about it before the show, but
Vance
Honeycutt has been out for, I think, the last 4 games. Talking with our friend Pat James, who covers this team and does some work with us, run a lot of our social media stuff. But he has a UNC baseball podcast, which is really well informed. He said that he talked to Scott Forbes about this, and it was Forbes reiterated today that he's day to day. It's just called it a lower body issue, whatever the heck that means. But theoretically, he should be a factor this week. And I mean, hey, North Carolina has gotten hot and won this thing before. So they're frisky. Both those teams, UNC and NC State, you would think are going to have very good crowds at the DBAP. It's again, sleep in their own beds, home game models. Those are good things.
Yeah.
And I think that either one of those teams could make a run through this tournament.
Fitzy, let me throw a couple more injuries in there. Jack Penny from Notre Dame has got a bad shoulder. I think he's unlikely to play. And Jack Finley is already out for the year for Notre Dame. And it does feel like Notre Dame is they're like very loosely in the mix. You guys had them in, but barely, right?
Yeah, one of those last 4 in.
I had them against BC last weekend, and it is like I came in there thinking, man, like I guess I'll just say it out loud. Like in one part of my heart was like, hey, Notre Dame is a team that probably shouldn't get in because you already know their best is behind them. Like Jack Finley, they don't go to Omaha without Jack Finley last year. Like that dude is a stud. And then Jack Penny being hurt. But I'll tell you, where I landed on Notre Dame is that, like the Jack Ziskas and the Brooks Coatsies and Carter Potts and Aiden Terrell and
Zach Preisner.
Yeah. Like these kids, it's the single best class in the history of Notre Dame baseball. 2 super regionals in Omaha, a regular season title. And it's like these kids won't let Notre Dame just wither away. So I'm really torn on that, but you could see NC State coming up and grabbing that from them. I feel like there was Andrew Healy of Duke is another injury.
Can I just say,
yes.
I mean, I assume all those Notre Dame kids are going to go to med school after this and maybe get a PhD and an MD, because obviously none of them want to go get a job because they're around for like 7 years. For Pete's sake, guys, grow up.
I'll be working for them someday soon. That's the way it's going to work. Oh, gosh. So, yeah, a lot of intrigue and a lot of good craft beers to be had at Durham. It is such a cool tournament, such a cool part.
If you're in town for the AC tournament, you can walk to several breweries. We got Full Steam up there, Dirty Bull. We got High Wire. We got all kinds of good stuff happening.
Do they still have Coors Light at those establishments, Fitzy?
Get the heck out of here, Coach Rooney. You know
that's,
better.
that's all they serve at cut and shoot. No, at the cut and shoot time to spare bowling alley, they serve Bud Heavies. They serve Budweiser beer, and that's
I
it.
don't think they're
No,
serving Bud Light and cut and shoot.
I feel like anytime I'm at like anytime I'm at one of these breweries and like there's a big event in town or something, I feel bad for the bartenders because how many they probably have 10 times an hour. They got to say, "Oh no, sorry, we don't have the silver bullet, but we can offer you this Pilsner, which is like the closest thing we have." And it's like they've got that line on autopilot.
Roots, can I just say that I want you to do a social experiment and go into Time to Spare and ask for a Bud Light?
What are they serving there? Just shots
I don't
of
know.
bourbon?
Probably not Bud Light.
Is it like Wyatt Earp times? Like you just have it just shot glasses?
It's Schlitz only if you want beer.
PBR, man.
Oh, that's so good. One final thought on the ACC. If you're a person out there that's mocking the format, the pool play, and all the seeds, I'm just telling you, you got to try it because I did the same thing. But you get there and all these great players are in one amazing facility, and then when you get to Saturday for the single elimination games, it feels like you're at the high school state basketball tournament where it's sink or swim, single elimination. It's electric. I saw Clemson and Florida State play in that game several years ago, and it was like the stadium was buzzing. It was freaking awesome. It was so cool.
And I love the cadence all week long too. You're gonna have 3 games a day. Nobody burns out their arms, and like sure. Is it less intense than the SEC tournament? Sure, absolutely it is. But it's not that bad of a thing. It's not that bad of a thing for it not to be that intense because the games that really matter are next week. And if you are a team fighting for your life, if you're NC State or if you're a team off the bubble like Virginia Tech or Georgia Tech, like you can go out there and be as tense as you want and make a run and go win the damn thing. But like it's just the vibe is fantastic. I'm the over under on number of Twitter questions or comments I hear this week complaining about the damn dead games and the pool play format is probably 400, and I'm just going to unsubscribe. I'm done with the conversation.
I'm just going to tell everybody to at Aaron Fit.
Obviously, the coaches like it, or they would have changed it. They've been doing this for some time now. They like it for a reason. It's good.
It'll be fine.
That's all I got.
You'll like it if you do it in person. Questions like that on Twitter, Fitzy, they're ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Well
Thank
said.
you. Heyo, Kendall, take us to Hoover.
Give us some teams for Hoover. I think when you look at the SEC, it's pretty crystal clear what the storyline is here. This week we had Auburn, Kentucky, Alabama, all in as hosts. I think you could look at Tennessee and South Carolina as 2 other teams to watch, and so you got 5 teams for really, I think 3 spots. I don't think 4 of those 5 are getting host sides. So you've got 5 teams for 3 spots, and you have 4 of those teams won 16 games in conference. Auburn won 17. So which 3 teams out of those 5 kind of set themselves apart this week? I think Auburn, for me, probably enters the weekend in the strongest position. I just think when you look at the way they finished the season, series win at South Carolina, series win at home against LSU, I think they're in really good shape. And for me, I think I look at South Carolina in the in the sense of like how would they look from an injury standpoint? This is a team that well noted that they've been banged up all year long, and is Will Sanders starting tomorrow? I don't think they've announced a starter for tomorrow. So what do they look like tomorrow when they line up? I think they play the first game in the morning. So Kentucky and Auburn obviously kind of lead the charge of that group, but just very curious to see what happens there. And then 2 other storylines for me, A&M being, I wouldn't even call them a bubble team right now because the bubble's so small. Obviously, as we go into the week, they'll kind of evolve into a bubble team if they lose tomorrow. But I do think if A&M wins tomorrow, I think they're in. I don't think there's any real question whether or not the Aggies get in. And then Georgia sitting at 11-19 RPI 37. There's zero doubt they're going to have to go on a big run here in Hoover to make the field. But guess what? They are starting Jaden Woods tomorrow in the opener of the SEC tournament. So getting him back from injury, does that kind of give them a boost? Because, if he can give them a strong start, all of a sudden things may change. The complexion of that team may change just a little bit. So keep an eye on Georgia a little bit.
And when you say they need to make a big run to get in, what we mean by that is they have to win the automatic bid because they went 11-19. Just getting to Sunday ain't going to do it. You don't get in at 11-19. I don't care.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, if they got to Sunday, that would mean their aggregate would be 15-19.
Still not good enough.
Probably not, but I mean, their RPI at that point would be about 23 to probably 22 to 25.
Right now, it's 37.
It all depends on the bubble.
let's recap some injuries in this tournament. So you mentioned South Carolina is going to have a lot of eyeballs on him. Like Will
Yeah.
McGillis, is he back? Is Wimmer? Is it Braylon? What's Wimmer's first name? Brandon Braylon?
Braylon Wimmer.
Braylon. Is he? I always want to call him Chris, his dad. Is he incredible shortstop at Wichita State? By the way, is he still DHing? Is he? I think he's really important to them.
Yes.
On the mound, Sanders is the story. Vanderbilt, Carter Holton sounds like he's an absolute no-go, but does Hunter Owen throw?
Yeah.
Kentucky seems fairly healthy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say South Carolina, to me, just from a committee perspective, and we talked about this in the Nerdcast a lot, but just their whole situation is just fascinating because they clearly finished the season on a bad note, right? But I mean, they won 16 SEC games. They won they have 19 wins against top 50, and their RPI is 6. So the overall, and they have a non-conference series win over a top 8 national seed in Clemson. So I mean, the overall body of work is fantastic. It's just they finished the season in very poor fashion in the SEC. So I can't imagine being the committee and trying to size up South Carolina because you could say, well, they finished the season in bad shape. But I mean, on the metrics that you set for the criteria, there's 6 in the country.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem. They stink right now.
Yeah.
They have been a
2-9.
stinky cheese for the last month.
Yeah.
They lost 4 straight series, 2-9 in their last 11. They're not the same team they were when they were steamrolling people, and it's like I get it. You can make excuses and say, "Oh, well, the injuries." And you're right. That's definitely a reason that they have not that they have struggled is they have had injuries. But I mean, like, that is still a factor. Like those things haven't gone away, and so you factor in momentum with the fact that they're just not one of the 16 best. They're not even close to one of the 16 best teams right now. They're just plain not. And you've got all these other teams in the league with similar overall cases here. Maybe some of the metrics aren't as good, but some of the other metrics are, and they all have 16 wins. Talking about Alabama and Tennessee, and Auburn has 17 wins. Like, so that part is about the same. They're all host worthy in the RPI. I'm going to take the team that hasn't stunk for a month. I mean, that's, like for me, they're last in this pecking order.
Well, here's my question. Yeah. Well, I mean, here's my question real quick is like for you two, like we all have our different opinions, but like, what is the magic number? Like if they beat Georgia and they beat LSU, is that it? Are they in?
I think that probably mitigates the damage from the last month because of all the reasons you said. They do have a lot of good data points. They absolutely do. Their overall body work, but we need a proof of life right now. Like, that's what I need to see. I need a couple of wins to show me that this team is not just moribund. Ruse.
I'm out totally on them outside as a host, outside of like the other teams around them crumbling. I'll tell you why. Like because even if they win those 2 games, there's losses coming, right? Like they're going to win 2 and then lose 2 unless they win the whole thing, or win 2 and lose 1. Here's where I'm struggling with South Carolina is I don't want to punish them for the 2-9 finish if their overall body of work is great. And, like the sweep 5-1 versus Florida and Clemson is very loud. But where I landed is that this streak has affected their overall body of work. They're 4-5-1 in SEC series. Yeah, I don't think you can be 4-5-1 in your league series and host. Like that just feels not so good to me.
So what about Kentucky? Like this is the other fascinating case. Not to get all nerdcasty on this thing, but like I thought it was interesting when Kendall was talking about the hosts. Kendall, I believe you lumped Kentucky in as one of those 5 teams competing for 3 spots, right? Because we have Florida, Vandy, Arkansas, LSU as our 4 definites. And then it would be Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Auburn, Alabama as the 5 for 3 spots, right? Does that math check out? Yeah. Which, like, I kind of feel like Kentucky with the number 2 RPI and 16 wins in the league, like, feels like a slam dunk host. But then, like, didn't they lose more conference series than they won also, Roots?
Yeah, they're 4-6. They're 3. Yeah. It's a very fair. Coach Farron did that to me earlier. Same thing. Like, hey, how can you walk away from South Carolina and not walk away from Kentucky? It is the perfect question. By the way, I think the committee will spend more time on South Carolina than any other single team in the field. Like this is such a difficult digestion of a team. But where I would take Kentucky is they did sweep South Carolina.
Yes,
they are playing the same way they've been playing all year. Like I feel like I can trust Kentucky. I think those
they have
and it's a better RPI.
They have lost 4 of their last 5. Well, 5 of their last 6 series. 6 of their last 7 series. Excuse me. Good God. Hold on. Let me make sure I get this right.
Yeah,
1,
that's
2,
right. No, that's right.
3, 6 of their last 7 series. In between there is the sweep of South Carolina, but and to their credit, they were swept the last 2 weekends, so like good for them. But I mean,
What?
like,
Yeah.
What's
Fascinating about that? So, like, what's fascinating about this league in general is like A&M, for instance, a team that we're thinking needs to win tomorrow to assure themselves in. They won 2 more series in conference play than Kentucky did.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not only that, but they beat Kentucky on the road. So that's just interesting to me. But I will say this about South Carolina real quick, just going back to the Gamecocks just for a second. They're gonna, if they can beat Georgia, they're gonna luck out big time, because there's no way Jay Johnson's throwing Paul Skeens on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and without Paul Skeens, LSU is more than beatable. So, I mean, they could go on a run in this thing if they can just win that first game against Georgia. Because I kind of consider that 50-50 with LSU with how bad their pitching's been outside of Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
I just think it's all moot. Like, this is the argument we have to have because we're trying to pick a field. But here's the bottom line for South Carolina. If they can get healthy and get back to the team they were a month and a half ago, or even get near it, they could win, go on the road and go to Omaha. Like, they're totally capable of that.
Yep.
So this is kind of like this is the argument we have. This is the alligator closest to the boat, I suppose.
If they get sent to Conway, let's say, as the 2 seed, that's a good setup for them, because they're going to have way more fans than Coastal. It'll be like a home game. That's happened before when South Carolina went to Coastal in a regional. Their fans just invaded it. And also, that ballpark plays great for the way South Carolina is built. It's a homer dome, and they hit a lot of homers. And so it's food for thought. I mean, they could
be a good draw for no offense, Coastal. That'd be a really good draw for South Carolina.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But by the way, my advice for South Carolina fans, let the rest of the season play out before you tag Mark Kingston in tweets directed at me, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, and good night. All right, so let's finish injuries in the SEC. So Arkansas is always interesting. Wagner has not played yet, I don't think. So, Arkansas is a team, I check their box scores every time just because I want to see who's healthy. Auburn is really interesting on the mound because I heard that Herbert Holtz didn't start last weekend, or maybe I got that wrong, but Auburn is fascinating, right? Because is it Tommy? Who is their rotation, right? They've got
Tommy Vale.
Tommy Vale
also threw really well last weekend.
Yeah, he threw great. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 6 dudes who have made more than 5 starts. So, like I'm eyeballing Auburn because I don't think they have great depth on the mound, but they might have just enough.
I like their side of the bracket a lot. Like with Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, then Auburn. I think they can go on a run here.
Actually, that's a great point. I should have looked at the brackets before I made my.
Yeah, I mean, so play Vandy. Vandy with all their pits, with a couple of their arms banged up, like they're not going to see one of Vandy's studs in the second game.
Can I just say, how weird is the Tommy Vale thing? Like, sixth year guy, right? He started his career at Notre Dame. Like, yeah, he's fine. He did some good things. But he was like not like a core piece. I mean, I guess he had the 1 year we had 5 saves, like a back end guy, and then he goes to TCU. And 12 innings? I don't know if I can't remember the deal there. He was hurt.
He's really battled injury. Like he's been injured several times in his career. He was injured at Notre Dame. He was injured, but it's interesting that he never has been a great strike thrower. He's been kind of a above average arm strength lefty guy, and now he's throwing great strikes. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, it's still 36 walks in 61 innings, so like that's not totally.
That's not awesome strikes.
No, but it's like the result. He's their right. He's their best guy, right? Like, isn't he? I mean, their best starter. It's weird. That's just.
I mean, Alsip's their best starter if he's throwing strikes, right? Like he's got ridiculous arm strength.
That's
like
fair.
He was throwing up to 98 against Missouri. It was absolute cheese. So,
Maroons. Speaking of hosting.
Yes.
Let's move to the Big 12 real quick because we've got quite.
Let me give you the themes for the Big 12, and then you can fill in my details.
That's your league.
There's 2 themes. There's 2 themes in the Big 12. You've got Oklahoma State, Texas, and West Virginia playing for 2 hosts, hopefully for them, right? I think 3 would take some really weird stuff for them to get 3. Yeah, that's what because you assume that one of those 3 teams is not going to have a good tournament. So those 3 teams playing for 2 hosts is the best case scenario. And then the other 4 teams, Texas Tech, TCU, Kansas State, and OU, playing for bids. And your guys' latest projection had a very favorable projection for the Big 12. 2 hosts and 7 teams in. I mean, for a 9-team league, that's a hell of a haul.
Softest bubble in history, Runes.
Yeah,
really
so
is
far,
right now.
so far, yeah. As you guys said on the Nerdcast today, it's soft today. It hardens quickly. I think on the injury side, I don't know that I can think of a big injury. Nolan McClain is back for Oklahoma State. He did miss 18 games, but he's back. OU, Dakota Harris missed 13 games. They were 4-9 when he was out. He's back. That's big. Texas is, Tanner Witt is getting his pitch count up. It won't be massive. Yeah, I mean, but hey, to your point, Kendall, and fill in any details you want, there is a lot to play for at Globe Life.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of in uncharted territory here, but like Texas Tech is a team that's front of mind for me. I think when you look at Texas Tech right now with an RPI 44, losing record against top 25, losing record against top 50, losing road record, really iffy finish in conference. They're a team that I think if they struggle in Arlington, they could find their way not only on the bubble but out of this whole thing if they don't play well in Arlington.
Yeah, could see that. Runes, you made an interesting point in our group chat today, I believe. Who knows what day it is? I don't know. Who could say truly about Oklahoma and their resume? I think that was you who made this point.
Yeah. It kind of rivals A&M's just a little bit in that, like Oklahoma does have wins over. They have 2 wins over Stanford. They have a sweep of Texas. Like those are 5 loud wins that Oklahoma has that a lot of the bubble teams don't really like. I'll pick on Arizona State right now. Arizona State doesn't have 5 wins that compare to the 5 wins I just mentioned for Oklahoma.
Arizona State 5-14 against the top 50. Oklahoma 12-11. I mean, that's a dramatic difference. Oklahoma also ahead of Arizona State in the RPI. The only knock on them really is that they finished in 7th, 2 games under 500 in their league, which is the same conference, but roughly comparable to A&M going 14-16 in its league. And so I think your point was well taken. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but yeah, they are pretty comparable to A&M, really. I mean, it's could this league get 7? I mean, I think there's actually a decent shot that they could.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Well, it's going to be fun, boys. And the best part is tomorrow morning when we wake up, there will be college baseball. Let us wrap with a couple things. I got a couple housekeeping items for you boys. So first of all, our second sponsor all year with the podcast has been Blast Baseball. If you're ready to dominate the plate, Blast Baseball is trusted by more MLB and college teams than any other hitting solution. The Blast sensor attaches to the knob of any bat, providing real-time feedback with every swing. If you go to blastmotion.com and enter the code D1Baseball at checkout, you will save $10. That's blastmotion.com. Enter the code D1Baseball at checkout and save $10. I mean, it's really, you're getting legit feedback on, your son or yourself's swing. That's cool stuff. The other thing I would tell you is as we enter the postseason, Kendall is just giving away the farm right now. He's literally, I don't know what got into you, KR.
Coupon Kendall.
Yeah, coupon Kendall, for God's sakes. But right now, if you type in save 30, you get 30% off of D1Baseball.com. It's got to be an annual, though, right, KR?
It's got to be an annual, but it's well worth it.
For SEC Extra. And I'm telling you, this is what you need in the postseason. What you need is you need your multiple windows, like Fitzy would teach you. Like as many windows as you can get in your house, right? So we want a window for scores. We want a window for the stats page, right? I want to look up, hey, how many steals does JJ Weatherholt have this year? I want, for player pages, I want fall reports. I think if you run into a team in the postseason, like Army and Penn have, that we don't have fall reports on them, but look up their page. We got a page on Penn. We got a page on Army. Indiana State. Do we have a team page on? We have articles on Indiana State for sure.
Yeah, we have team pages for everybody, Rings.
There you go. Fall reports. Who would be a good example on fall reports? Okay, Oklahoma be a great example. Like, I don't know what I think about their pitching. So I go back into the fall report and say, who was their projected rotation? What's that look like compared to where we are now? That's if you really want to.
I will say 2 things, too, as well. Coaching carousel is going to get hot and heavy over the next couple of weeks.
Martha.
And also the transfer portal. Let's not forget that teams that are finishing their season, those players have, what is it? I'd have to go back and look. It's 40 days to put their name in the portal. So you're going to start seeing some good names at some of these mid-majors who may not have made a conference tournament put their name in the portal. And also Runes and I give hair care tips. So,
which I found
Oh.
very, very helpful. I will say that.
Oh, that's great. Team
guys,
stat pages. That's the other part you want to look up.
Yeah, for
Go ahead,
sure.
Fitzy.
Guys, I want you to know, listen, to accommodate all this stuff, I've had to go to 2 external monitors for all my windows and tabs, plus my laptop screen. I've got 3 screens going at all times now. It's listen, this is next level thinking right here. But I mean,
3D chess.
Fitzy, that was almost my inane banter topic for today. Like I'm packing for tomorrow to go to Dallas for Globe Life. And Bob Carpenter, I love you, but you sent me the wrong book this year. And this thing, it's like I feel like I'm carrying the Encyclopedia Britannica with me on the trip. It's like this is like 7 pounds.
It's also a stupid format. It should be horizontal, not vertical. This is like the Bob Carpenter is the most overrated score.
Well,
Vertical.
now you're
give me a
you're
break.
blaspheming.
I'm out on
You are
vertical. It's a waste
blaspheming.
of space. You got all this space at the bottom you don't need. We could my custom template. You've seen it, Williams. It's
Yes.
money.
Here's
It's the gold
by the way,
standard.
here's a shout out to our
The
new
gold standard.
sponsor, Bob Carpenter's Scorebook.
Bobby C. Bobby C. Yeah, if you want to like.
By the way, Aaron,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
want you to
great.
feel bad, but I have 4 tabs open right now, including this window.
I mean, like, are you even doing anything with your life? Like, you only have 4 tabs open.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your
So I
life?
have
So
a Big
good.
12 SEC page open, and I have
All right,
South Carolina
boys.
schedule.
I have
open.
2 final questions, and then we will
Okay,
wrap.
go for it.
This is not one of the 2 final questions. Do you guys know when our next podcast will be? Do we have any idea?
What's next week? Selection Monday is next week.
So next week there won't really be this podcast. It will be a Nerdcast, right?
Yeah. Well, you can join
We'll
us.
do
in the
we'll do
Nerdcast,
a
actually.
reactions pod.
Yeah, reactions.
I
like
think I'll be
Monday night?
traveling though. Like I got to fly back from Bristol that
after.
day. So yeah, you guys. Well, it'll be. Look out. We'll whatever we do, we'll put it on Twitter and it'll be well.
we'll certainly have
publicized.
some regional preview stuff next week after.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, if you're traveling, it's Monday night. We'll figure it out. But
Maybe
Yep.
we can work in. Does ACC start late on Friday or Friday?
I have night games on Friday for big.
Well, what I'm saying is maybe we could do like a Twitter space at like lunchtime on Friday
Yeah.
or something.
That's.
maybe.
We'll see. Either way, there'll be
Yeah,
one more
yeah, of course.
Nerdcast, right? One more Nerdcast. That's typically how it goes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Sunday. I mean, like we talked about, maybe trying to do something during the week, but I think that's over ambitious. Typical Kendall Rogers time optimism. He thinks between spending 16 hours at the ballpark every day and then staying up till 4 a.m, we have time to crank out a Nerdcast on a Thursday night.
Hey.
No, we're not.
Go hard or go home.
We're not.
Kendall
We
already
will-
won the podcast with the Steven Shock hat. That hat is not good. It's
Thank you.
great. It is
He's
gorgeous.
Well, almost wore the
recycling it.
"My husband hates your team" hat.
Oh,
but
that's even better.
I'm saving that for Gold
Custom.
Live.
All right, boys. Here's the final 2 questions. Yes, as you should. So you guys, the Nerdcasters are excellent. Like your accuracy level is excellent. I have set the over/under on correct selections of this year's field at 62.5. I feel like
That's
it's a
about right.
really good line.
63. I feel like we often get 63. I don't think we usually. I don't know if we've gotten.
It's hard to get
64.
64 because I feel like the committee on purpose put somebody in that we don't that we have in.
They spin
Yeah.
a big
We don't have
yacker
them.
for us on
I
purpose.
can see them in the committee in Indianapolis saying, "Suck it, nerds."
Yeah,
Something
John
along-
Bowen's 100% that guy.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
I'm talking to you, John.
I feel like this committee is going to be predictable. I feel like they're going to be heavy fastball. I think you guys
Of
are going
course
to
you're
get
gonna-
After the way they treated NC State last year, I have a hard time believing it's going to be that predictable, because that was still the most shocking. Like, that team wasn't even on the bubble for, they were a 2 seed and they they didn't get in. Like,
So
the heck?
what say you, Fitzy? Are you taking the over? You think 63 is the number?
Yes.
What do you think, Kendall?
I think with a small bubble, and I don't think there's gonna be a ton of upsets. I'll say 63.
I
Listen,
believe in you guys. I'm taking the
Yeah.
over. Give me 63.
we're good at this.
Yes, you guys are
Um,
good at this.
We should get 64. We frankly should get 64. If the committee is doing their jobs right, we will get 64. I'm gonna
Well
put it
said.
that way.
Yeah. All right. So here's my final question. So at the end of the season, we will award the Kurt Reed Award for the best player in college baseball, the best entity in college baseball. And as I told you earlier, I have the Drover on my mind. So if we were to nominate one part of the Drover and the Drover experience for the Kurt Reed Award, would it be the ambiance? The fact that it looks like it was built in the 70s and you actually walk down into a cellar to dine at the Drover? Is it the ambiance? Is it the salad bar, the
Obvious.
world's greatest salad bar?
Well,
Is
it was
it-
the old salad. It's an old salad bar with a plaque, so they don't have the plaque on there anymore.
It is retained its original quality, however.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I ditto. Is it just having an adult beverage with all the great people that are there? Like the umpires are there, David Esker's there. Like you're going to see all of your friends in college baseball there early in the tournament, or is it the steak? Is it the red meat? So what is it? What is it? We can only nominate one part of the Drover for the Kurt Reed Award. What are you nominating? I'm nominating the salad bar. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah. I'll say the salad bar because like their lettuce is really good and their ranch is always on point.
The salad bar is delightful.
It's crazy good.
It
It's the
really
best
is.
word for it. It is
so-
it brings
it's
a
so-
smile to my face. It's yeah.
It's excellent.
Riz is getting all giddy over a
Oh my
salad
gosh,
over
it
here.
just-
No,
I
but
won't.
but the answer is the whiskey fillet. Get the heck out of here. It's the whiskey fillet. Come on. Next question.
Maybe
What else
that's
you
it.
got,
The
Runes? What else
Drover.
you got?
Dylan Cruz is not college baseball's only 5-tool player. It's the Drover. Like move
Oh,
over
for
to
sure.
DC.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Love it.
Somehow I've got to talk to the manager this year because they've got to be a sponsor of ours.
Well,
Like, how could they not be?
they're a
They
non-paying sponsor.
They would lose street cred if they actually like paid for sponsorship. Like they're just like they're like above the fray. Like they're not going to go corporate on us and like
Yeah,
start-
I've been asking for a T-shirt since like 2005, and they still
Yeah,
aren't selling
good luck.
T-shirts.
Good luck with that.
Oh man. Well, boys, it was great to see you. Enjoy, Kendall. I will see you at Globe
Yeah.
Life Field. That will be a blast.
It's like a throwback year for me. I started this whole thing going to the Big 12 tournament, so
Yeah.
throwback Central.
Rosenblatt report, right?
Yeah, Big 12. Well, we'll also at Big12Baseball.com before that.
Jeez, God,
That is awesome. So great. We need you, Kendall. One of your pieces this week needs to be called Big12Baseball.com or whatever you just said. Like that.
There
That
we
needs to
go.
be the headline.
Maybe we'll do a live interview with Chief.
Chief, we will see Chief, and it will be
Big 12
glorious.
legends.
Yes, that's right. So, Fitzy, have a good time in Durham, and
Hey,
Enjoy
yes.
Shock.
great show tonight, guys.
Yes, on every podcast.
A plus hashtag whatever your podcast. We crushed this one.
Yes, yeah, we crushed it like Kurt Reed. That's it. Everyone have a great week. Enjoy the conference tournaments, and we will catch you next time on the D1 Baseball Podcast.